A pink-haired woman in a maid's dress, Tethy, stands in a hall. She is completely covered in blood and informs Redri that she has returned. Redri, a guy with a very interesting design, replies that she did a good job. Redri smiles maliciously. And well, a few hours ago, this shit was going down. What was going on, you ask? I don't know either. Not yet. Ted Chanel kneels before Redri and says he will leave. Our villain is counting on Ted to complete the mission, as he's the only one who can do it. Redri is the 7th prince of the Empire, the 20th in line to the throne. Ted Chanel is his twin brother. Ted says he wishes for Redri to ascend to the throne and bring peace to the Empire. Then, Ted walks towards his objective. Our villain says he will succeed in his mission. Redri watches a group of people walking past his window. He speaks to Tethy, saying that she should be grateful since he created a plan where he would have to give up his own life. Redri states that if Myron hadn't died, they would have to fight. Tethy, thoughtfully, responds that she would do whatever Redri asked. Redri states that in that case, it would be a fight to the death and that he cannot afford to lose her. The Sakura thanks Redri, bowing slightly. Our villain, with his back to Tethy, says that she still needs to deal with Myron's body. She confirms that she understood and will clean up everything. Redri, looking out the window, says that Myron's death will greatly increase his chances of taking the throne. He says he will do whatever it takes to get the Emperor's gift, and states that the country, its people, and its riches will bow before him. Now, in the Amalthea Empire, he walks surrounded by guards. With the present miracle passed from each emperor to the next, the divine tree was created. Under the protection of the tree, the empire thrived. Ted, looking at the sky, complains that no one cares that the divine tree needs a shrine maiden. Indignantly, he questions if no one cares that they need a human sacrifice. A young, white-haired girl dressed in white remains seated near the tree. Ted exclaims, "The shrine maiden of the divine tree is mine!" He clenches his fist tightly. Our hero says that only certain members of the Imperial family and those in power can enter the divine tree garden. At that moment, these people are in a battle of succession for the throne of the ailing emperor. He says his mission this time is, well, we won't know. He didn't finish the sentence. Suddenly, a gray-haired man, seated in an imposing chair, slams his hand on the table in anger. He shouts, incredulous, that it's impossible. This man is Duke Leroy Myron, 7th in line to the throne. Our protagonist questions if they dare doubt the prince's words just because he was born a commoner. Myron denies the accusations, stating that he would never stage a coup against the emperor. Two men exclaim. One of them states that they will discover the truth when Prince Mikhail returns. One of them asks to await Mikhail's response. Ted Chanel, disguised as Redri, says that this is the strategy of the second princess, Amanda. He deduces that Amanda's plan is to weaken the power of the first prince, Mikhail. Ted Chanel concludes that Redri plans to use Amanda's plan for his own benefit, but he concludes that Amanda is using them too. Ted Chanel, facing Myron, states that he is only arresting rebels under Imperial orders. Myron begs Ted to reconsider, as His Majesty would not give such an order. Then our villain's brother states that it doesn't matter who the order is from, an order is an order. Ted Chanel completes his reasoning, saying, "Besides," and points a gun at Myron, stating that he has not received orders to capture him alive. Myron and his allies are astonished by Ted Chanel's attitude. Myron's allies draw their swords. Ted Chanel calmly observes his opponents, who are preparing to attack him. The madman just ignores the threats, releasing only a Myron begs Redri to stop this, pointing out that he is outnumbered. Then the old man draws his sword, stating that he will not be defeated so easily. Ted Chanel, looking coldly at Myron, calls for the Duke. He remembers that Myron is a brave general and a source of pride for the Empire. In his mind, he calculates that this is why Amanda didn't want to confront him directly, but he claims to have a plan. Suddenly, Ted Chanel starts vomiting gunpowder into his hand and says that no matter how cautious Myron is, he would never imagine that he was hiding gunpowder in his stomach. The gunpowder is of the highest quality and easily flammable, exploding with a single shot. Oh my God, confirmed. This guy is crazy. Myron orders Redri to stop. As being a prodigy in magic, he should already understand the situation. Ted Chanel, with a sadistic smile, states that he will not stop. Not after having already made some insane preparations. Then the madman points the gun at himself. Myron, in shock, questions who Ted Chanel really is. Ted Chanel orders everything to explode, stating that it all starts there. An explosion engulfs the place, engulfing everything in flames. Tethy, in shock, watches the explosion. The building is completely ruined after the explosion. Myron, wounded and lying on the ground, questions whether Ted blew himself up. Incredulously, he questions whether Ted would have really resorted to that. Then, after all this mess, Tethy says she'll start cleaning. Tethy, holding 2 daggers, steps on Myron's chest, who groans in pain. Tethy asks Myron if he has any last words. Myron watches Tethy, who is preparing to kill him. Myron states that even if she does this, nothing will, yes, we'll never know, because the maid runs the old man through with her sword. Goodbye, Grandpa, you will be missed. Tethy reports that her mission was accomplished and that she is returning. 2 men, in shock, observe the scene and question what Tethy is doing with the Duke. One of the men questions Tethy, asking how dare she hurt their lord. Tethy, with a menacing look, without giving the 2 time to react, quickly runs her knives through them, and it's a triple kill. The maid, noticing that there are a few more opponents, says it will take some time. Meanwhile, Ted Chanel, shrouded in power, says that he always remembers those days when he uses his gift. And well, get your time machines ready, because we're going back in time a bit. Ted Chanel and his sister watch their father in a bed. He tells Ted that he needs to be strong as an older brother. The old man asks Ted to protect Claire in his place. Ted Chanel, still a child, cries and agrees with his father. A few days pass, and our hero, still a child, working hard, hears Claire say that he is trying too hard. Claire offers Ted a snack and a break. Ted is grateful. Claire is his sister, 2 years younger than him. They lived happily together until the incident 3 years ago. The Empire didn't destroy their hometown because they were aggressive. They did it for their little sister, to take her. Claire, crying, begs Ted to run. Thanks to Claire's quick thinking, he managed to escape. But Ted falls off the cliff as he begs her to stay alive. Ted reaches out to Claire, screaming, disappearing into the darkness. Claire, trapped amid green roots, became a human sacrifice for the Emperor's miracle gift. Claire was captured and transformed into the Shrine Maiden of the Divine Tree. Ted Chanel, lying by a river, became the sole survivor of that attack. He remembers Redri, who was identical to him for some reason, capturing him. Ted was forced to impersonate his twin brother, acting as his double. Redri had the ambition to become the next emperor, regardless of the methods. Although Redri's mother was of low social class, they said he was a prodigy in magic, with ambition greater than any other. Ted thinks that if he takes Redri's place, he can use the power and enter the Divine Tree Garden to save his sister. Ted wonders if he can rescue his sister with his power, his gift, and well, now you can get out of your time machines because we are back in the present. Suddenly, someone whispers his name. A white-haired girl falls on top of Ted, calling him. He stares at the girl, who jumps into his arms, swinging her huge melons at him. Sorry, I had to comment. She asks if he's okay, since he seemed to have died. Ted replies, indignant, that obviously he's not okay because he just died. She tells Ted that he should get used to it, as it has happened several times before. Our hero watches her. 3 years ago, when he was on the verge of death, she was the one who gave her gift and saved his life. This sweet person's name is Phi. Ted doesn't know who Phi really is, but he had no choice but to believe her. Phi questions what is wrong with Ted, and if it is the right time to be watching her. Ted turns his face and tells her not to be silly and questions if they are in the right place. Phi confirms and asks if he doesn't know that this is his only chance to get past that girl. Ted confirms and asks Claire to wait for him. Then, a soldier runs towards the mansion, shouting for Redri. He asks the soldier, irritated, who is making noise. The soldier, bowing before Redri, informs him that Tethy murdered Duke Myron. Our villain smiles, saying that was a good job. The knight says there's something that worries him. Redri asks the soldier what is it. The soldier says he can't speak out loud and asks to whisper in his ear. Redri doesn't understand why the soldier is asking for that. Then, Ted whispers in Redri's ear, revealing that his role is finally over. Redri's eyes widen, questioning how Ted is still alive. Then, our hero delivers a knockout blow to our villain, who cries out desperately. Ted realizes that he will no longer be able to use magic that way. His helmet falls to the ground. Redri questions the reason for the attack. Ted brags, stating that he will not die from a single explosion and states that he has a gift. With an insane look, he explains that his gift, the extra life system, allows him to revive as long as he still has lives left. Then he points a gun at Redri and declares that he has been waiting for this moment for a long time and thanks him for the past 3 years. Well, Ted shoots his brother. Wow, that sent shivers down my spine. What a good story. Learn from this, Sasuke and Itachi. That day, the neutral city of Severn was, we won't know that either. On a beautiful, calm morning, Claire complains to Ted, saying that there are mushrooms in the food. Ted asks her not to be silly and to eat everything. Claire gets annoyed with Ted and states that now he's done it. Then she says she'll get him back when it's her turn to cook. Ted asks when it will be Claire's turn to cook. The little sister, smiling, replies that it's because she loves Ted's cooking. Then, suddenly, a man enters the house and calls for Ted and Claire. Ted asks the man, "Gray, what's wrong and if he wants food too?" Claire asks Gray if he likes mushrooms. Gray, elated, states that there is no time for that, as the Imperial army is attacking. Ted, surprised, questions the reason for the attack. Gray admits that he doesn't know the reason, but the important thing is to intercept them now. Ted tells Claire not to worry and to go hide somewhere. A group of soldiers marches down the street. A commander shouts at the other soldiers, stating that they are not amateurs. He and his companions were members of the Glatt Mercenary Corps, responsible for protecting the city. But against her, the lone fighter of the Empire, they stood no chance. Several of his friends were killed in an instant. Tethy, with a menacing look and covered in blood, watches as more opponents arrive to quench her bloodlust. Gray orders Ted to take Claire and run. Gray states that he will hold her back and orders Ted to hurry. And well, not even this story is free from flashbacks, my friends. So let's go back in time a little. Ted and Claire are cornered on the cliff. Soldiers surround them. There is no escape. One of them orders them to capture the girl and take her away. He says that she is the maiden of the divine tree. He states that in relation to the boy, Ted, he is free to do whatever he wants. Ted asks what a maiden of the divine tree is and questions why Claire is one. Claire cowers in fear, confused by the situation. Then, Ted's fateful fall from the cliff occurs. As he falls, he begs for Claire to stay alive. Then our hero falls, sinking into the darkness. Ted tells Claire that he survived and that this time he will be the one to save her. He states that he will do so by any means necessary. Then he meets with Phi, who is surprised, saying that apparently a mere merchant's son has become a member of the great Imperial family. Ted says he doesn't care and that after saving Claire, they'll go back to Severn. Phi states that she was just complimenting Ted for doing a good job. He comments that a beautiful woman's praise is something he should accept graciously. Ted replies that it's not something she should be saying about herself. He says he's going back because he can't be seen there. Ted gets embarrassed. He thanks her for everything so far. Ted says he was only able to do all that because of her. Phi confirms and says she's glad she could help. The goddess of large melons says they should also check on the conditions of Ted's gift. Ted agrees and asks Phi to do so. Phi places her finger on Ted's forehead and concentrates. Ted explains that his gift is something Phi gave him. Whenever he dies, he is resurrected before Phi. Ted also needs Phi to verify the conditions or missions to increase the number of lives remaining. Wow, what an amazing power, huh? Phi says that Ted's mission is to kill someone whose death would cause another person deep sadness. Ted replies that it sounds boring. Phi says that even if he complains, it's no use. She reminds him that he has no more extra lives. Ted acknowledges and says he'll be careful. Ted thinks that if he dies now, it's all over, but states that he didn't come this far to fail. 2 days later, at Redri's estate, Tethy and Ted meet in the office. Ted figures that no one seems to have noticed his brother's death yet. After all, they don't even look him in the eye. Ted wonders if this is an order from Redri, or if it's just cold. But either way, our hero says that if they are stupid enough to believe it, it works for him. Then a warrior approaches Ted. She asks for permission to enter. Amanda, the second princess of the Almathea Empire, enters the office. She tells Ted, or rather Redri, that he did a great job defeating the rebel Myron. She continues, informing him that, as promised, Ted's position in the line of succession has jumped from 20th to 11th and congratulates him on the promotion. Ted replies that it was all thanks to his sister Amanda's recommendation. He states that he only graciously accepted His Majesty's Imperial order. Amanda smiles and says that they should continue working together to take the Empire. She states that the Empire should be ruled by those with power, regardless of their noble or humble origins. As the current emperor is bedridden with little time to live, she is aiming to succeed him. People like Redri and Amanda are locked in a power struggle. This gives Ted opportunities to take advantage of. As long as Ted saves Claire, they can do whatever they want. Ted says he's always willing to cooperate as long as he gets something in return. Shaking hands, Amanda asks Ted if he wants something in return. Ted confirms. Amanda asks if this something in return is her life. Ted, confused, asks what she means by that. Amanda orders the man be brought in. 3 guards escort a handcuffed man into the office. The poor guy falls to his knees on the floor. Ted stares at the man, surprised. Tethy is startled and says the man is Allan, the estate gardener. Amanda asks Ted if the man isn't from his estate. Ted confirms that he is, but then our hero thinks to himself, saying that this is not the Allan he knew. Ted reveals that Allan was the one who trained him to become Redri's double. So, get your time machines ready, because we're going back in time once again. Allan orders Ted to be disciplined, punching him and making him spit blood on the floor. Ted watches, shocked. Allan approaches Ted with a red-hot iron and says it would be suspicious if Ted didn't have a burn mark in the same place as Redri. Then, the bastard Allan burns Ted's chest with the red-hot iron. Ted, still with his hands tied, screams in pain. Allan says that now is the time for real action. He throws a girl on the floor. Ted stares at the fallen girl, perplexed. Allan laughs and orders him to kill the newcomer. Ted freaks out and asks what the guard said. Our hero refuses to obey, saying that he would not do that to an innocent child. Allan counters, saying that the brat came from the slums and broke into the property to steal. Ted gets irritated and questions if the guard is going to kill her for it. The guard explains that after all, what good is a double if he can't even imitate Redri's coldness? Ted bites his nails nervously and says it's horrible. Allan approaches Ted and scolds him with a punch, saying that Redri would never bite his nails. Ted says he doesn't know exactly what happened after he refused to follow Redri's orders, but he is happy that the child was not killed. Amanda asks why the gardener was hanging around her property. Ted explains that it is possible that Allan was spying or attempting to assassinate Amanda. He thinks to himself, lamenting that while the older sister is using the younger brother as a pawn in the power struggle, the younger brother is stabbing the sister in the back. Our hero says that this is a beautiful brotherly love, but it's nothing but a nuisance now. He remembers that his remaining lives are limited, and that if he dies, it's all over. Amanda questions him, asking what's wrong and why he has nothing to say. Ted swallows hard, nervous. Our hero, in his mind, says that the aura of Amanda, the greatest heroine in the history of the Empire, is on another level. Amanda orders Ted, or rather Redri, to answer. Our protagonist apologizes to Amanda and says he doesn't know either. He states that it is true that Allan works on the property, but he only saw him as a gardener. Ted continues, saying that Allan probably didn't say anything. He states that if he had, Amanda would have killed him without even giving him a chance to explain himself. Amanda scolds Ted, saying that he has been careless and needs to be careful who he surrounds himself with. Ted tells her that he is ashamed. Ted wonders if Amanda thought it would be a shame to let someone like Redri get away. Amanda says that in that case, they should nip the problem in the bud. Amanda orders Ted to execute Allan personally. Ted stares at her, shocked. Amanda completes her sentence, saying that since they are at it, why doesn't Ted use annihilation magic, the kind that only a genius like him can use? Ted thinks that this was Amanda's goal all along. He notes that Amanda plans to take countermeasures after seeing Redri's trump card. Amanda asks Ted what's wrong and tells him to stop playing hard to get and just show it. Amanda says there's no way Ted can refuse. Ted thinks to himself that he has no talent for magic. He wonders what he should do. Allan looks at Ted, surprised. Ted, seeing that Allan recognized him, says he screwed up. Allan stammers, saying, You couldn't be? Then, Ted casts the fire spell that Amanda wanted so badly. Our hero lands a bullet right in the middle of Allan's skull. Well, desperate times call for desperate measures. Ted, gun in hand, says he had no choice. He justifies his actions by stating that Allan may have been a scumbag, but he did it all for his own convenience. He feels a familiar energy coursing through his body, the same feeling he gets when he gains an extra life. Our hero remembers that the condition for gaining an extra life was to kill someone whose death would cause another person deep sadness. He thinks that there is no way Amanda, who gave the order, feels any remorse. Ted wonders if it's actually Tethy who's feeling sad about all this and Allan's death. He continues, questioning if Amanda really didn't know anything about him and if she really thought Allan was just a gardener. Ted wonders if Tethy's distracted manner is all an act. Amanda scolds our hero, asking if she didn't say she wanted to see annihilation magic. Ted apologizes and says he can't show her right now. Ted tries to bluff Amanda, explaining that he expended a lot of his power during the plan to kill Duke Myron and is not at his best right now. He says that because of this, he can't use annihilation magic. Amanda sighs. She says that in that case, he cannot be helped. Amanda draws her sword and says that for those who want to kill Redri, now would be the best time to act as he is weakened. Ted's eyes widen in shock. Tethy, drawing a sword, stands in front of Ted. She says she won't allow it. Ted is impressed with Tethy's bloodlust. He thinks that, as expected, when it comes to fighting, Tethy is on another level. Amanda watches and smiles. Ted thinks to himself, pondering that if Amanda dies there, a problematic obstacle will be gone. He also thinks that if Tethy dies, he will have avenged his friends from his hometown. Since he killed Allan, he has one extra life left. He deduces that even if he is caught and dies, he can come back to life. So he concludes that no matter who survives, depending on the injuries, he can finish them off. Our hero asks himself if he should do it now, since he is not the same person he was before. Ted continues to think and concludes that the reason his lives increased is because Tethy felt sad about Allan's death. He questions himself, unconvinced, wondering if he is really someone who would go that far. Ted raises his head and tells Tethy to calm down. He faces Amanda and orders her not to touch his sister. Ted thinks to himself, stating that revenge and obstacle removal can come later. Saving Claire is his priority. Ted asks Amanda to stop fooling around. Amanda questions him. Our hero suggests that if Amanda is serious, he can demonstrate the self-destruction magic that allowed his double to kill Myron. Then Ted says that the truth is that he was only able to do that because he put explosives in his body. He continues, stating that Amanda wouldn't know that unless she had seen it with her own eyes. Our hero says that even though he can't use annihilation magic right now, he can at least do that. He asks Amanda what she's going to do. Amanda thinks. Then, breaking everyone's expectations in that room, she says that those who dare to threaten her are precisely the kind of people worth cooperating with. She tells Ted, or rather Redri, that she will continue to count on him. Ted confirms that he understands as she leaves the room. Our hero observes Allan's body on the floor. Tethy asks Ted what he's going to do with Allan. Ted says he'll give him a proper burial. Tethy is surprised and watches Ted in silence. Then she says she will help Ted. Tethy carries Allan's body out of the office. Ted watches them and thinks to himself that for all her power, Amanda is not normal. Then, some time passes, and Ted finds himself dining alone at a huge table. But in reality, he is not alone. Out of nowhere, Fi states that she is going to have an apple. Fi says she's glad Ted made it through everything safely. Our hero asks that if she saw everything that happened, she should just save him. Fi replies, saying that Ted doesn't seem to have enough energy to complain. Ted confesses that even though he knew Allan was that kind of guy, he still took a life for his own convenience. Ted states that there was definitely a better way to do it. Fi replies that Ted is too sentimental. She says Allan was a spy who was exposed and captured. Allan losing his life was just an inevitable conclusion, and that Ted has to come to terms with it. Our hero remains silent. Fi strokes Ted's head, saying that he did nothing wrong. Suddenly, the minx kisses Ted's forehead. Ted asks her what she's doing and tells her to stop. Whoa! This is what we were talking about, lewd acts. Let's go! Fi says that if Ted is not going to eat that, then she will. Then, Ted exclaims that this was her goal all all along. Ted says he doesn't want to stay in that place forever anyway, and at this rate, someone will end up discovering a flaw in him, and that will be the end of everything. Fi agrees with Ted and continues eating, saying that it's also uncomfortable having to hide all the time. Then Ted clenches his hand and says that once he has a plan, he will go to the Divine Tree Garden. His mission is to rescue Claire. The conditions have changed. Current condition: shock others with your death. Remaining lives: 1.